Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
What's up, y'all, denizens of the internet? Welcome to another episode of the Get Geek podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Jose.
This is Wolfie.
AJ.
And this is Walt.
Yeah. And this week, we're going to be discussing the flavor of the moment, the flavor of the week. But first, we got to do our quick disclaimers and our quick promos. As always, we have been recording remotely. We are recording remotely today as well. So if there are any sound issues or artifacts with the podcast, you are free, and we would like for you to let us know through any kind of feedback. And we welcome any kind of feedback on the podcast, including the audio issues, including any kind of feedback you have on topics or anything else regarding the podcast. So please reach out to us, give us some feedback for whatever, and please excuse any audio issues you hear on today's podcast. Speaking of podcasts, the best way to support your favorite podcast is, you know what to do, like, rate, share, and subscribe to your favorite podcast. You know what the spiel is. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. We appreciate, once again, the feedback. So like, rate, share, and subscribe, please, to the Get Geek podcast. All right. So should we get started, gentlemen, on the topic of the
we
week?
should.
Yeah.
So we are still in Wandavision's Hex world.
Mhm.
We're in the Hex. See, I used the word.
Hex
We
is
are
becoming a thing.
Yeah, it is becoming a thing. We are going to discuss. Hold up. I need to give props to this tea that I'm drinking. I feel like my voice sounds so much better.
I'm drinking some tea too.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. The tea that I'm drinking, by the way, is Baby Yoda tea, limited edition green tea infused with honey. I just want to put that out there. That's how much of a weeb I am.
Geek.
Yeah.
Geek culture.
Anyway, yeah. So we are discussing WandaVision episode 5. A huge momentous episode. It seems like every episode seems to be obviously bigger than the previous one, but just, it's been breadcrumbs. And then this one just kind of sort of exploded a little bit more, It also felt longer.
Mind
It definitely
blown.
was longer, right?
It was a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
there was a lot in this episode.
Yeah, there was so much in this episode.
And by the way, for anybody that's listening, if this isn't obvious by now, spoilers, and theories galore on this episode.
So we're going to get to WandaVision episode 5, and then a little bit later get into a couple Geek Outs, because, it's been a while since all of us have been together. I feel like I haven't been on a podcast with Walt in a while. So I really want to know what you're up to, man. But yeah, so what did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys think so far of, like, all the revelations that haven't been revealed, as I like to put them?
Revelations. Wanda was always the bad guy.
I mean,
She's not.
sure, a little bit.
I don't think so, but
There's a number of red herrings, I think, in this show. I think there's a lot of
Wanda was always misunderstood, as I see it.
A villain, not a villain, but behind this, yes.
nah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I feel like there's a little bit of. I sense some confusion in the Walt Melgar household. What's going on over there?
And she is the one doing this.
No, she's not.
She is.
She
There was
is and she isn't.
There were certain things that happened within the episode that lead to me to believe that she's not fully in control in this Hex reality.
That's very true. That's very true. All right,
So,
cool. Jose,
I'll put it that way.
what did you think of the episode?
I mean, I thought it was amazing. I think the show is really living up to the early expectations that all of us had, and maybe that's me speaking for the group, but I think, yeah, for me personally, it's definitely living up to the expectation. And it's not a perfect show by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a wonderful way that, I mean, maybe by coincidence because of COVID and all of that, it's a wonderful way to reintroduce everyone to the MCU so far, and the obvious mind-blowing revelations that we did get revealed in this episode that are not totally revealed because we don't know what they mean, I guess, were amazing. So I really
Yeah.
really like this episode.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So then let's do a quick little synopsis, a quick little recap for everyone that's listening out there. So once again, this is your last spoiler warning. So if you haven't seen the episode and you're just tuning in to catch up on the weekly podcast, pause and go ahead and watch. Okay. Um, does anybody want to do the synopsis real quick?
I'll do a synopsis of the episode real quick.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so very very quickly, basically the episode begins with the 80s. They're now in the 80s on this sitcom, basically on the WandaVision sitcom. And it opens up again in the sitcom, by the way, like last week's episode. It started to reveal a lot of the stuff that was going on in the real world, but now we're back in Wanda's reality, and she's trying to put the babies to sleep, Billy and Tommy. And so this is like the main conflict at the beginning of the episode. And her and Vision are trying to figure out ways to put the baby to sleep, the babies, the twins, to sleep. And when they've kind of run out of ideas for the moment, Agnes walks in, and we have our first like really weird moment of this episode, right? Because every episode has those kind of Hitchcock moments. Agnes offers basically to comfort the kids, to put them to sleep, and when Vision kind of is apprehensive about it, he doesn't want Agnes to actually take care of the kids. We have that moment that might have been revealed in some trailers and stuff like that, where Agnes asks Wanda if they want to basically take the scene from the top. She's very aware of the reality they're in. She knows that Wanda is the one that in this situation wanted somebody to help her put the twins to sleep. And she has this self-aware moment where she kind of breaks in the reality. And then, of course, Vision notices this. And then Wanda and Vision have a conflict based on that moment as well. And then there's this even stranger moment, basically, where Billy and Tommy, who have been crying this whole time, stop crying, and they go from being little babies to 5 years old. They age up, okay? And there's some implications behind who's doing that, but we'll get to that when we get into the bigger breakout of the episode, obviously. So from there, like, we have them age up, and then we have the opening of the WandaVision episode, the actual sort of 80s sitcom opening theme song. And there's some interesting lyrics there, which we can talk about later as well. And it's definitely very, very much influenced by like Family Ties and stuff like that, which is really funny. But then we go back to the real world, and we have a conversation basically with Monica and all of the sword agents about basically, how, like, what to do with all of this new information regarding if Wanda's in control or not, or if she's actually altering reality. They have whole conversations about that. And that's kind of what's going on in the outside. They're trying to figure out what to do about basically that situation, right? And then if we have this other situation back in the WandaVision reality where the twins get a dog, right? This dog comes out of nowhere, and there's a whole other situation involving Agnes there, where the twins again, they age up because Vision says that they shouldn't have the dog, so until they're like 10 years old. So they age up again to 10, and then we have some more basic exposition about what's going on, at least in the reality outside. Again, from Monica and Jimmy Woo, Agent Woo, and Dr. Darcy Lewis. And then we have another crazy moment in the episode where Vision is interacting with Norm back in the WandaVision reality. And it, in that moment with Norm, he kind of breaks from the reality as well. Okay. And Vision starts to uncover a little bit more about what's going on. And then we have a return to the outside of the reality where basically Wanda has a conflict with the Sword agents finally. And, we go back to the WandaVision reality again. We have another conflict where Vision's basically starting to figure out what the heck is going on, and he's not letting it go. And then we have our very special guest at the end of this very special episode of WandaVision. So that's like a basic, brief, point by point of what kind of happens in this episode. So yeah, Wolfie.
So so basically, like, as you guys can see, there was a lot of like instances where there was a little bit of a break in the WandaVision world, more so than we've seen in the previous episodes and stuff. And so yeah, let's talk about that first point. Like, what do you guys how do you guys feel about like the whole aging thing? Like, how do you feel about like the babies? Obviously the aging didn't happen now. It happened, during the pregnancy. Otherwise, that's how she went to full term in one day. I have my theories on the aging. What do you guys think? Who do you think is manipulating the aging? Is it really the kids? Is it Wanda, or is it something else?
It seems like the kids, because she told them not to do it, and it looked like they were about to do it again. And then she
Okay.
stopped them. So I think it is them. I don't kind. I think I'm not a fan of the whole super super aging thing. We had to deal with a very similar thing in Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, yes, it's convenient. Like if you wanted them to be toddlers, okay, fine, short burst of power, that's okay. But I mean, at this rate, why not just make them full grown adults? And then it looks like they control it at will. So
I think it's like Wanda is her power. Excuse me. Her power is being used. Sorry. Excuse me again. Her power is being used to manipulate the reality, and she's doing it somewhat willingly because she wants this happy reality with Vision. But she has that moment at the end of the episode where she has the confrontation with Vision about him basically starting to realize that something is totally wrong with this reality. He doesn't remember who he is, all of that stuff. And she says she doesn't know how any of this started. And I don't think she's lying. I think that somebody else kind of manipulated her into creating this, and then she accepted it, and she's starting to like basically believe it more and more herself. But I think that ties into what the twins are doing too. I think that they realize that they can do certain things within this reality because they have that other reality breaking moment with
Mm-hmm.
Wanda regarding bringing the dog back to life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that they know that by maybe wishing for certain things in this reality, it can be fulfilled. But it's obviously it seems obvious that it's not Wanda that's in full control, because if she were, she would be able to do whatever she wanted with the twins as well, and with Vision and with everyone that's involved in this reality. So I think there's still somebody else pulling the strings behind
Well,
even the aging and even all of that.
well, Walt, what about you? I have a theory that I think that a lot of people might be maybe kind of gloss over of what the possibility is as far as like who this other new party is that's
not
controlling
Mephisto.
WandaVision and everything. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, Walt, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the rest of the group. I think Wanda is kind of, you know what it feels like? It feels like, the driving school cars where you have wheels on both sides. I think she's in the passenger seat, but no, I think she's in the driver's seat and she's kind of driving, but there's always somebody that
That's
supersedes her. You
Oh
know what I'm saying?
man, that's
That's the way that I
perfect.
feel it,
That's the
because
perfect analogy for what I want to say.
it
Mm.
really is. Because I mean, if she was in full control of, this reality, then the kids would not have the ability to age up. And it's clear that, they can do this on their own, right? And then there's another point later in the episode, which we'll get to, where she literally tells Vision, I'm not doing this, you know? So, like I said, I think she has partial control of this reality,
Mm-hmm.
but clearly there's somebody above her that really is pulling the strings here.
Yeah, she has no control regarding the children at all because she couldn't make the stork disappear. She couldn't. She didn't create herself as pregnant. She wanted to be maybe, but she didn't actually, snap it into reality, so to speak. And she couldn't stop the twins from aging up.
Yeah, and
So, and she
especially
couldn't
in
stop them from crying either. So everything relating the kids is completely out of her control.
especially in this episode, if you look at um uh I forgot what Elizabeth Olsen's face. A lot of times she showed surprise with some of the things that were happening
Yeah.
within that episode. So to me, that just means that, you know what, now she's losing more and more touch with this reality, and it's becoming clear to her that, you know what, I'm not fully driving this bus here.
Yeah. She looked like the
Here's
Avengers
my
when they
theory.
broke from her mind control powers in Age of Ultron. She had the same expression
Mm-hmm.
as they did.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's my theory, and I didn't mention this at all in the group chat at all,
Mm.
but bear with me for a little bit, and I want to use your analogy of like the student driver cars where you have steering wheels on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if that car is the brain, and what we're dealing is with multiple personalities,
That's
and
certainly
it's
possible too.
it's it's her
It,
subconscious. it's another her alter ego, another version of Wanda that's dealing with the grief in a certain way, right? Because let's
yeah,
think about it, right?
It's happened in the comics.
It's
it
yeah, well,
happens
I
in
mean,
real life, you
yeah,
know.
it happens in real
Mhm.
life. Like, see, like I want to point to just a couple things that kind of give me this, right? The first one is when they have the dog, and she, as Wanda is, we can't have this dog and this that, and the other. But as soon as she picks up the dog, she really kind of wants the dog. And even though she doesn't want to agree with Vision on like saying no to the kids, when she says 10 and then all of a sudden they age up to 10, what if that's a subconscious part of her that's aging the kids up to make it work,
Dude, that
right?
dog was too cute.
So cute.
You know what I'm saying?
The second thing, is when the kids were, when unfortunately going back to the dog, when Sparky unfortunately, passed away, within the episode, and the kids wanted to age up. What if that's her subconscious? What if the kids are a manifestation of herself and her grief, and where the kids automatically want to start aging up in a way to like deal with the grief, right? Her subconscious trying to deal with the grief by running away from everything.
It's the same age that she lost her parents. She was 10. Her I don't know how old Pietro was, but she was 10 years old.
Well, they're twins.
Yeah, well, yeah, of
So
course.
yeah.
Duh. So they were both
Mhm.
10.
And then
Duh.
here's the third
Yeah.
thing. When the sword agents were having the meeting and everything, describing WandaVision, the whole nine, what's the main like sword agent, I guess the commander and everything? What's his
Hayward?
name? Does anybody know his
Director
name?
Hayward?
Okay, yeah, Director Haywood. When he's detailing her, talking about her, he's saying, oh, she didn't have an alter ego, she didn't have a different name that she went by. I
Hmm.
almost like feel like that's a little bit of a breadcrumb where like we're dealing with WandaVision versus Scarlet Witch.
I think
Okay.
that's also making fun of the fact that, you know what, they have never mentioned her as Scarlet Witch within the MCU. You know,
Maybe, but that is way too much of a coincidence to be dropping that in a show that's dealing with someone that's having a mental breakdown and dealing with mental illness.
and it does feel weird that they harped on it for that. You know, it wasn't like a throwaway line. It was like, you know, does she have a nickname? You know, it was something that it wasn't. It was there purposefully. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
So I feel like that's kind of like what we're doing. Everyone's kind of hoping or maybe thinking that it's Mephisto and all that, and it'd be great. But I think it would be easier to say that she's having a mental breakdown and dealing with schizophrenia and a multiple personality situation. You
personally,
know?
Gabe, for me, I actually like the fact, and I think I did mention this in the chat yesterday when we were talking about it. I kind of like the fact of her being, you know, the bad guy of the show, and actually seeing Scarlet Witch. You know, I think that's something that would be interesting to see in the MCU. You know, because usually we have the good guy, the bad guy turning into the good guy. which she was one of them. You know, it would be interesting to see that her kind of going dark side because of the fact that she's so broken by the
Right,
fact that she lost vision. I think
right.
that would be super interesting to watch and see how, Marvel handles that within this,
One hundred
thing,
percent. I agree with you 100%. But how do you do this without hurting the fans that love Wanda? You do this with the multiple personality, right?
Yeah,
Because if you just make Wanda the bad guy, that all of a sudden Wanda is Wanda and she's just the bad guy, how do you make all of her fans accept that she's the bad guy?
yeah,
I
and
mean, if you're
it
a true fan
works.
of her, though, she's been the bad guy. That's probably why
Right,
you're
right.
a fan of her.
Well, if you're a fan of the
Partially, right?
comics, right? If you're a fan of the
Yeah,
comics,
Yeah,
right? But we're talking about like the
the
MCU,
MCU. Okay.
Disney's brought in a swath of people that don't read comics at all and aren't going to, you know, which I'm okay with. I love the fact that we have a much wider audience, even though the audience may not be, reading the entire history of the comics, because it keeps the comics world alive and all that. But you do kind of need to give a little bit of service to them, and I feel like this would be the way to make it happen.
well, you make it a redemption story. That's clear and simple. That's probably the way you do it. That way, you don't lose the fans that grew up with her in the MCU, and that's their only instance.
Hmm.
You
Right.
You gotta,
redeem her later on.
you gotta wait a whole year though, right? Because Doctor Strange comes out
Yeah.
in March of next year, doesn't it? If I'm not mistaken,
Is it?
I
I'm
think
not.
so. I think
It
it's a
could be.
2022 film.
Listen,
Because
Oh,
the only
i thought it
2021
i thought it
film,
was i thought it
Black
was this
Widow
year.
Black Widow and not Inhumans, Celestials,
Oh, okay.
Eternals.
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 Thank you. I believe that Doctor Strange is a 2022 release. So if it's a 2022 release, you have Wanda as a villain for a whole year,
Yeah, it's
basically.
March 25th of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, so it's a whole year of her being the villain. I think we might see her get her sort of redemptive arc in this show, right? Because I think there's
I
definitely a
don't think
possibility
so.
that she's the
Yeah,
villain,
that seems
but
very, very short
I
lived.
feel like that's very unlikely because I feel
You'd
like
have to rush that.
yeah, I mean, to me, this show is a prologue to the next phase of Marvel, right? And if you have a prologue, the prologue has to end with a bunch of questions. If you give her redemption story, then there's nothing, like, I don't know, like, I
that
don't
She's
well,
see where the
she's
bridge
well,
that
is,
hold on.
you know?
I
she's
have
less
thoughts.
interesting at that point.
Well, hold on.
You
I
know,
have thoughts because we know that Kevin Feige pulls from real comic storylines, and you figure he would probably want to pull from something that's a little more current. And I mentioned this in the chat, but I kind of withheld some of my thoughts until we got on the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this is necessarily like what they should do, but what they could be doing is they could be setting up the most recent Secret Wars, which was basically a multiverse collapsing event. And you have her kind of, because it's already been it's episode 4, and she was kind of revealed as the quote unquote villain, right? Um, so it's episode 4. We have 5 more episodes to kind of explore this a little bit because if you go to your point, Wolfie, you don't want to make her a full on villain because that's going to ruin the people that really really enjoy her MCU character, who's not a real villain, who's kind of already been through the redemptive arc, right? 'Cause she's already been there in Age of Ultron. So doing it again in an extended way actually kind of might be redundant if you think about it. But this leads into the multiverse of madness and Spider-Man and all of these other movies where the multiverse is kind of going haywire. But it could be something where they discover that it's basically multiverses crashing in on each other, destroying each other. This is how you have the TVA get involved. You have all these other things that we know are confirmed to be getting involved in the MCU in terms of movies and TV shows. This is how you can kind of all create the most recent Secret Wars. But again, this is gonna suck for fans like Walt and myself who want to see original Secret Wars, because if they do new Secret Wars, then we're probably not going to get old Secret Wars.
yeah.
Right. So that could be part of the arc that they're trying to set up here with because that's one of the best reasons to set up the multiverse. It's one of the biggest multiverse stories that we have in Marvel Comics.
Well,
Was
the
that
thing
story?
is, the thing is that like if you go that route, then you forego the ability to pull in the entire mutant world in a cohesive manner that makes sense. And this is why I go back to the whole thing that my theory is that this is House of M. So does anyone
It still
here?
could be, but
Well,
it
if
could be that the ramifications of it are the multiverse collapsing in on itself.
I don't see,
Kind of putting
but
those
then that's
storylines
like
together. That's what Feige's known for, you know.
I guess. I mean, they did put Civil War together with the Infinity War.
Yeah,
I
But hey,
wouldn't
just
like that
spitballing, really,
because
you know.
I was not happy the fact that they did Civil War in one film. You know,
yeah,
because Civil War was
Mhm.
such a huge thing. I mean, House of M was part of Civil War. You know, like that's how big Civil War was.
Yeah,
So I feel like if they
Avengers
did
3.
that, that would be a little sucky. But
Mm.
House of M is such a huge thing that happens so far away from uh like Secret Wars, in the sense that like House of M is essentially House of Magneto. And how do we have House of Magneto? It's through WandaVision's, reality bending, situation from her mental breakdown.
But you know how they could do it that would be dope,
Mm,
possibly, is we have all these shows that I think all of these MCU shows that are coming out, Loki and
right.
Captain God, um, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Excuse me. I think they're
Okay.
all going to be in the same timeline as WandaVision. It's going to be right after the unblip happened. So all of them might be dealing with certain aspects, kind of like a big comic event where different comics are all
Yeah.
leading up to the
For
big
sure.
tie-in. They could all be dealing with House of M, but we're not going to get that resolved yet because we could still have something like that setting up into Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man and all of those other places where it's possible to start putting in breadcrumbs
So
for X-Men and for House of
so
M as a
right.
storyline.
So there's a couple things that I want to talk about. Before we move on and stuff like that. Like two points that I want to hit on is again the House of M angle, as well as the fight between Vision and Wanda. So we're
Mm.
gonna. I want to come circle around back to House of M, because there's a couple things that happen in the show itself, just visually,
Mm-hmm.
that for me is almost like a confirmation of House of M. And we'll get back to that. But I do want to get to the fight that happened with Vision and Wanda, because as you mentioned earlier, Vision was able to see that like this is all a manipulation by Wanda after he realized that Norm is under her control and all that. He got to see the real Norm. He saw his panic and all that. And then when he got home at the end of the night,
Mm-hmm.
they had a major fight. They almost came to blows. Um, and it's interesting because Vision is clearly Vision is very clearly actually Vision. I thought up until this point that like Vision was essentially a puppet, that he was just, she stole his body and she was controlling him and all that stuff, implanted a consciousness onto the body and stuff. But it really does seem like this is actually Vision, because he's able to kind of break free from the power and not be controlled by her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to like utilize his powers however he wants at will. So did anybody else think that this was Vision from the get? Because now like I'm kind of questioning. I'm not sure if it's really Vision or if it's like a husk.
I think it's him. I think
yeah.
it's
So
him.
do I.
I think it's. I think I mentioned this on last week's podcast. I think we might get the same gamble that we got in Wonder Woman 84, where she has to choose and she's gonna have to
Yeah,
let
but
Vision
yeah,
go and let him die again.
you mentioned it. You mentioned
Maybe.
it, but in Wonder Woman 84, it wasn't really what's his name?
No, I know. It
It was
just
just a
the
consciousness.
storyline
No,
device.
in
I just
this
wanted
one, I
like the
feel like
plot
this is him.
device,
I feel like this
not
is
the
actually him, though.
actual circumstance, I guess. Because
Like,
like it,
do you think that she like fully revived him?
yes, I do think so.
Well, he is
I
only
think
an android. It's not like she's going against her own rules that she addressed in this episode.
that's probably why they also
Right.
keep mentioning the background, the microwave
Oh,
background
that's right.
radiation, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what Wong talks about
Yeah.
in Doctor Strange, or I don't think it was in Doctor Strange. I think it was in Infinity War when he talks about the creation of the stones. He says that it was at the time of the Big Bang, and they keep bringing up the cosmic
Yeah.
microwave
Hmm.
background radiation. So maybe
Yeah.
she somehow recreated the stones recreated the Mind Stone. Like a theory that I've seen in a couple of places is that if you look at each of the commercials, they all represent one of the Infinity Stones. Like,
In color?
well, in color and in other ways as well, because I think it's the
Hmm.
soap. The soap looks like the Tesseract. It's a blue cube, the box. And then we have the one in the most recent episode today in Lagos, or
Oh
what is it,
yeah,
Walt?
because like the reality
Lagos,
stone Legos,
Vegas.
the
Lagos.
the reality stone was like kind of like a red blob, right?
Yeah, the ether,
Yeah, the
right? And it
ether.
was a
Ether, yeah. Oh
red
wow.
spill
Oh my
in this
god.
episode.
So many breadcrumbs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's
Interesting.
I think that she's using her power in a limited way to keep this reality in Westview together, to
Hmm.
keep Vision alive, and to have the Infinity Stones perhaps exist again in her small pocket reality. And we'll
Hmm.
see if that has any ramifications, if that's permanent. That's just again, that's a spitball kind of random theory, but
Right.
Well,
it's
here's my
possible.
take on it because
Hmm.
first of all, before I go on, did you guys notice that little Avengers Endgame end credit scene that was never an end credit scene in this episode?
Yeah, where Vision was basically
Yeah,
being experimented on.
and no, that's she went in and stole the body.
Right.
That was that whole scene. That was supposed to be originally the end credit scene for
Oh, right, right.
Endgame.
But
You know what I'm saying?
you noticed that his body was in pieces, which it wasn't when
Yeah,
Thanos took care of him. So they were clearly Sword was clearly experimenting
yeah.
on
But
Vision, which is a
here's
whole other wrinkle.
here's the thing that I find interesting about this because first of all, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he does have the Mind Stone on his forehead, or
Yeah,
he has something on his forehead.
Yeah, he
yeah,
does.
he has had
So
it pretty much the whole time.
right, so it's clear that you know she recreated him, and maybe like you guys were saying, she's bringing back the Infinity Stones, and the fact that he exists in this reality really means to me that he just exists. Period. And the reason I say that is because when you go, there was a very specific scene where Monica ran over to go look at her clothes, right, which were changed by you know her going into the hex, but yet it still
Right.
retained the original properties. Like for example,
It was still Kevlar, right?
right, exactly.
The clothing,
So to me,
which
I
was
think
the
that
vest that she had.
yeah. So to me, if Vision were ever to get out of the hex, I think he's still Vision. I think he's. I don't. For me, I think it's a done
That's a
deal.
true.
Vision is back.
That's a good point. Yep, that's a good
Yeah,
point. I mean, and
Vision
the
is
thing is,
back.
I want Vision to be back. He's like I said this in the last podcast. I would hate if like the last that we get of Paul Bettany as Vision is the next 4 episodes. That would totally suck if we
Well,
don't get any more of him. So
he has that little story about the time that they brought him in after Infinity War, I believe it was, or something like that.
oh,
And
enlighten
he,
me.
well, he they the executives brought him back, and he literally thought that he was gonna be fired, and that's when they pitched WandaVision to him, and he was like super happy. He was like walking into the office down and dour, and he was like, "Oh, this is the end of my Marvel
Yeah.
career." And they were like,
Mm.
"No, we got something more for you." So he was
Something
like super
huge.
happy.
Yeah. Yeah, because Vision, oh man, Vision is just so good. All right, so back to the fight. They're fighting in the living room, kind of the way that parents do when the kids are asleep and stuff. Sometimes, when they air out their issues of the day. Hopefully it doesn't happen in a lot of households, but every once in a while, parents gotta kind of iron out the wrinkles, right?
Yeah, stuff happens.
Um, and clearly the culmination of the little fight that they had that almost came to blows is that Vision no longer trusts Wanda, and Wanda's realizing that. And at this moment, we get like the classic. This is like a classic, old school sitcom trope where like someone knocks at the door, rings the bell, and is like, "Who could that be?" And then we get like the cool guy, you know, we get the cool guy entrance. Uncle Jesse is there, and everyone's like clapping and all that stuff. And who do we have? We have her brother Pietro show up at the door, but
Is it though?
it's not. It's not the brother that she knows. It's not, Aaron Taylor Johnson. from the MCU. And this is what, like, this is why I wanted to circle back to House of M, because this is, to me, this is really important, right? If you're going to recast him for the show, I think that, like, it doesn't make sense to recast him for this show, because let's say, you know, Aaron Johnson doesn't want to do it anymore, and
He does.
they well,
They've asked him recently. He said he would definitely come back.
look
He's
at that.
got nothing going
That's
on.
even more confirmation. That's even more confirmation.
I think he'll be back too, but go ahead.
So instead of recasting, like, again, Wanda is the, as far as we know, the director, the casting director, the set director, the lighter, the screenwriter, and the whole nine for this entire production. If she is going to even subconsciously recast him as another actor, how could it possibly be the Fox version of Quicksilver, of Pietro? To
Well,
me, that tells me that it's got to be the mutant, because he is very specifically the mutant world version of Pietro.
Mm-hmm.
well, I think she's, if it is her, I think she's still adhering to her own rules that she set in that episode, because she clearly said, you know, talking to the kids about Sparky, you can't bring back somebody who's already dead. So,
Except
if
Vision.
well, but Vision's not really a person. Vision is
Yeah.
an android. So he's replaceable, he's repairable. But you can't bring. That's why she refused to bring back Sparky, and I think that's why you're seeing Evan Peters instead of Aaron Taylor Johnson, because she's sticking to the rules that she even set
Ah,
within that episode, where it's like, I can't bring back Pietro, my Pietro, but I want him back. So again, this is if she's controlling it.
this is where I hit you with a curveball.
What is supposed to be
Because
on there?
remember when the kids, when her boys asked her if she had a brother, she had a
Hmm.
moment that we've seen multiple times on this show so far already, where she kind of like glares away and answers that, yes, I do, but he's really, really far away right now.
Right,
What if
and
that is a moment where her alter ego, or her schizophrenic side, kind of comes to be and says, yes, I have one, and she's actually brought him back? Maybe it's
again,
her.
that to me, and just speaking as a parent and knowing how small those kids are, maybe she was trying to not upset them. You know how, like, when you're talking to a small child and you're
Mhm.
trying to talk to them about death, you kind of circumvent that in a way. So that to me felt what that was about. But you could be 100% right. It could be her subconscious saying, well, you know what, and it could be this. It could be, you know what, my Pietro is not here, but I may know of, since I'm breaking reality, and the multiverse is breaking down. Maybe subconsciously I have knowledge that my Pietro is not here, but there is another Pietro out there. And maybe I can bring him in.
Yeah.
The only thing that weirds me out about this, and again, I'm nitpicking because that's what I do. Um, she clearly doesn't recognize Pietro for obvious reasons, right? But Pietro
You
knows
think that
her
she doesn't
instantly.
recognize him?
Oh, clearly not, because it was a total shock, and it took her a while to kind of figure it out. Maybe
Hmm.
because of the hair, and she's like, "Pietro, is that you?" But he didn't have that moment. He was instant. It was like, oh, you're my Wanda, which is weird to me, because if Quicksilver is different in his universe, then it would stand to reason that Wanda would be also. But he didn't have that moment of,
Yeah.
who
There is
could
no
you
Wanda.
be? You
There
know?
is no Wanda in the X
I
Men
mean, yeah, there
universe.
is no. They never
No,
brought
there is.
Wanda in Fox.
No,
I mean,
there is. He
technically, there
does have
has
a
to be a Wanda.
sister.
Yeah.
He does
Yeah.
have a sister. They never mentioned that she became
Yeah.
Wanda, but he does have a sister, because they mentioned that she actually, I think she was even there in Days
When
of
they went
Future
to
Past.
when they went to visit him.
Yeah. So he has a sister.
Mm.
And so, like I said, again, nitpick for me, because
Yeah.
that's what I do. I love to nitpick stuff, right? But it's
Yeah.
like,
I
if,
mean,
if Quicksilver is different, then why wouldn't Wanda?
Well,
You know?
this reality clearly edits people's minds. What if it's her alter ego
Mhm.
going rewrite?
Well, I don't think that's really Pietro in my mind. That's just me, but you know, I'll leave that to you guys to discuss.
Well, so then, so going back to House of M, who read House of M?
Here,
Quick question.
I
Jose
honestly,
did.
I have limited knowledge. I didn't read the
Okay.
entire thing. So
I did.
And AJ, no.
I know only one phrase. No more mutants.
Okay, so then
Okay.
Jose, do you remember the moment that Wanda officially uh distorted the entire world reality?
Not the No More Mutants moment, because she
No,
did
no,
it
not
before
that, not that moment. Before that, before that.
It was when she was having a conflict with, oh my lord, who was it? I haven't read it in a while, but she was arguing about the twins, wasn't she? And she had that break.
It was so, not to go into like super spoilers, but essentially she was already kind of going crazy, and there were issues happening and stuff like that. But
Yeah, she was already
this was
schizophrenic, right?
yeah, there was a point where um the Xavier and the Avengers, well, the X-Men and the Avengers, were contemplating on basically killing Wanda in order to like save humanity, and or rather save the world from
Yeah.
like her insanity. And Pietro goes, he overhears it with super speed, goes straight to Magneto, lets him know what's going on. And I don't want to say what happens from here, but then after this scene, something very specific happens to the entire world. An entire, essentially a red cloak takes over the whole world, right?
Okay.
Essentially
Yeah.
envelops the world, and it's at this moment that the entire Earth's reality gets completely changed.
And
In that moment,
we see that in this episode.
that's
Somewhat.
what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets out of the hex and confronts Monica and Sword and everything, and she walks back in, they took the time to pan out and show that the entire hex is a red enveloping
Yep.
fabric that's
Right,
controlling
right,
the
right.
reality. And if you combine that detail with the fact that Pietro from the mutant version, I guess, mutant version of Pietro from the Fox world is in there, I feel like this is like, and something that just got released on Instagram a couple hours ago is Boss Logic putting up a piece of artwork of Magneto manipulating a bunch of guns with the M of his
No.
helmet very
There's
highlighted.
no way that's a
Hold on,
that's a
hold on,
spoiler.
hold on,
Kevin
hold on,
Feige wouldn't allow it.
hold on.
Well,
And
there is
all Boss Logic does is like very soon. Like, come on. And
Well,
and you
everybody
add the
knows
whole
that.
like, oh, there's gonna be a Luke Skywalker like a Luke Skywalker like cameo in this season.
Kevin Feige wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't allow it.
Oh,
Have you
no,
guys
He's
seen
meeting
that
with Kevin.
video
He's
though?
meeting with Kevin Feige like in like a week or something like that. He's
I think
meeting with him.
Yeah.
There's no way that Kevin Feige would allow, or that meeting's canceled. I
Well, it
guarantee.
could be a
for
mystery.
I don't
that.
know. I don't know.
Hey, but
I
did
don't
you
know.
guys see that video? That little short video where they were showing Magneto and Wanda side by side. Have you seen that?
No.
No. Which one?
Okay, so referencing that point where she mind controlled all the Sword agents to point it at Hayward. As she's walking away, she has this little flip of her hand.
Yeah.
Magneto does the exact same thing in the movies.
Really?
I
Oh
mean,
my god.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on.
that whole
there is-
scene.
Come on.
The
there
whole scene
is
the same.
literally, it is literally, that can't be a coincidence, people.
Yeah,
That
no, it
really
can't be.
can't.
It
Can I
can't
say
be.
one more thing?
Yeah.
Just going back to Evan Peters, another reason why I believe it had to be him is because you're talking about an 80s show that she's having this 80s reality. And you got to remember, all those X-Men shows happened in the past. That version of Pietro is the 80s version of Pietro. So I think that has
Really? You think
maybe,
that's
I think that has maybe something to do with it.
I don't know,
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
I don't know. 'Cause
I
again,
think
they could have hired any Pietro.
no,
Actually, no. Actually,
no.
no. I see it. I see it. I see what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
see what you're talking about. Yeah.
because
Days of
remember,
Future Past.
and
Killing
again,
Pietro as a kid.
it goes back to Monica, where it's like, well, you know what? We have to put in something into the hex that belongs to that decade, and that's why they
Yeah.
brought in the drone. You know, so
Mhm.
it just stands to
Yeah.
reason, if you're gonna bring in Quicksilver, why wouldn't you bring in the '80s decade Quicksilver? Just a thought, you know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then they would have to go into the fabric of time and pull him out to bring him into that current reality.
Well, that would be the person that's at the wheel of this driver instructor
Mm.
car.
Well, okay,
You know
okay.
what I'm
Here's
saying?
here's my question. I think
Hmm.
this. I
Let's
think this
let's
is
let's
gonna
get
be.
let's get a couple final thoughts and
Well,
then
I
go.
have a
So yeah,
question
yeah, okay.
because, like, and I'll answer obviously my own question is Elizabeth Olsen recently said that there was, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, that there's a cameo that is of Luke Skywalker in the
Right,
Mandalorian
exactly,
proportions, right?
It can't be Evan Peters
It's
because
not.
exactly. It
I
can't.
don't buy that. I
Okay.
really don't.
It's not.
I like that moment, but to me that's not a Luke Skywalker moment.
Okay, but
It's
hold on.
really not.
So to me, the Luke Skywalker moment is you have, and look, I mentioned this in the chat yesterday. It's not going to be a permanent thing, but I think that in a way, Kevin Feige also might be trying to introduce new X-Men by closing out the old X-Men in a on a really high note. Okay, because Paul Bettany also said that there was somebody on the show that is going to be a huge cameo, that is somebody that he's wanted to work with forever. And again, I love Evan Peters. I love Evan Peters. He's amazing in Quicksilver. He's amazing in American Horror Story. He's a good
Hmm.
actor all around.
He is.
It ain't Paul Bettany ain't talking about him. Paul Bettany is
No,
not talking about Evan Peters,
no.
but he could be talking about a Patrick Stewart. He could be talking about an Ian McKellen. And again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
No, man.
permanent. I'm not saying it's permanent, but it could be something where they appear as role players in trying to fix all this stuff that's going on with reality in the next 2 or 3 movies. Because if you look at Spider-Man, where everybody's coming from every property, everywhere, why wouldn't you, if you were Kevin Feige, play with these amazing actors? You have James McAvoy, you have Patrick Stewart, you have Ian McKellen, you have Jennifer Lawrence if you want to bring her back, although I
I
wouldn't
think
bring
it's
her back.
Fassbender. I think
You
it's
have Nicholas
Fassbender.
Holt, you have you have Fassbender, you have all these people. But I don't think it's Fassbender either. I think it's bigger than that. I think Fassbender and them will be in it. And my theory is that they're actually going to carry them into the MCU, the newest X-Men, the
Let
main
me.
core of it, the McAvoy, the Fassbender, the Nicholas Holt,
Yeah, I think it's
the
them.
Evan Peters. I think they're
Yeah,
going to be the X-Men in the
but
MCU.
Jose, let
But
me ask you this question.
yeah,
Kevin Feige, he's known to do the big splash, right?
yeah.
That's what he loves to do. Don't you think though it's kind of counterproductive to have that type of splash in a series as opposed to the movies? And granted, I understand that people are watching the crap out of this series. It just seems that something this important is probably something that he would relegate to the cinematic
I know,
universe.
but where
You know
else
what
are
I'm
they going
saying?
to do it
I
right
don't
now?
know. Honestly,
Where
I
else are
don't
they
know.
going to do it?
I
Black
don't think
Widow?
so.
No, no. Well,
Yeah.
you kind of build this up. I like I said, you even said it. Breadcrumbs. He loves doing the breadcrumbs. He's dropping breadcrumbs, but I don't think any full reveal would happen in this show.
It
I'm
doesn't
gonna
have
say
to
right
though.
now that
Well,
it's
You
gonna
look.
know
be
what
Well,
I'm
think
saying?
about
Fassbender.
this.
I'm
Think
gonna
about
say it
this.
right now. It's Fassbender. One
Well, hold
hundred
on, hold on.
percent.
Let me
I'll
just
put money on
let
this.
me make
You
my
know who I
point
was talking
about what
about? I
Walt
was
said.
thinking
Hold on,
about.
guys. Hold on. Let me say this
Yeah,
because
go.
again, you forget we're not going to get the resolution of this for a whole year.
No,
You
I
drop
get
the
that.
breadcrumb, and then you start with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in bringing the X-Men in.
Yeah,
That's where
yeah,
you
yeah.
really
No.
get the pop. But
That's
there's
where
nothing
I
else right
think.
now because
That's where I
WandaVision
think.
is either WandaVision or Loki. Those are the only 2 properties where you can drop the first breadcrumbs right now. You can't. I mean, nobody's going to care about dropping that in Black Widow. It doesn't make sense in Black Widow, and you could do it in Spider-Man, but they're not going to wait for Spider-Man. They already dropped Evan
Uh,
Peters in this episode. It's, to me, it's leading into, and again, it could be Fassbender, like Wolfie is saying. It doesn't have to be Patrick
you
Stewart. It
know
doesn't
how I
have to be Ian
really.
McKellen.
I thought
But
it
I
was
think that
Ian
they're
McKellen.
going to be in it. Yeah.
I have the sense, and again, it's probably Fassbender, but as I was thinking about it, Ian McKellen
Wouldn't Paul
makes
Bettany want to work with him
exactly that's
or
the
Patrick
guy
Stewart?
because those guys they have so much gravitas, and
And they're all
they're
British. They're
exactly
like
that's
they're
where
like people he looked up to,
and
right?
I love Fassbender, but Fassbender might be a little bit too young for this part, especially when it's
Yeah.
Wanda. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's the thing that really I would love to see Fassbender recreate the role, but I think in terms of age wise, McKellen makes sense.
I understand and I agree with you, but I always thought that Ian McKellen was too old to play Magneto. Because
He's
even
still
though
great,
Magneto, even
But
even though
again,
Magneto in the comic books was all white haired and stuff like that, he definitely didn't look like he was in his like late 80s, early 90s.
they're gonna
but
de-age
here
him
you go. Here you
20
go.
years.
You give him that final send off that
Makeup.
and that's it. And then you bring in a new
Maybe.
set. Maybe you rewrite reality where everybody gets young and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Let
but
maybe he
me.
why
gets
do that?
killed in this
Yeah,
multiversal conflict,
I
and
know.
it's up to
I don't know.
Fassbender to like actually do something. I don't know.
All right, so
Can
let's
I
go. Yeah,
ask one
yeah,
more thing? Do
sure.
you think Wanda got her powers by that splash that she took? I mean, not Wanda.
Splash.
Monica, when she
Yes,
got kicked out of the hex.
yes, because of her weird X-ray
Yeah,
and her
I
weird
just wanted to
medical.
mention that real quick. I know we have to
Okay.
move on, but I just wanted to mention that real
It
quick.
was all light. Her whole X-ray was light. It was just white light.
Mm,
So
yeah,
she's
Photon,
probably
sure.
photon. Yeah,
photon.
Monica Rambeau is photon.
Yep. All
Props to
right.
Tiana Paris, by the way. She's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. We can move
All
on.
right, so
All right.
Sorry.
I know that there's still and it's funny because there's still so many breadcrumbs left on the table,
No, there is.
pun intended, that we didn't talk about. So I'm sure that this stuff will come out little by little. I think
So
it's
hard.
good to leave some stuff to the imagination, as wild as our imagination gets. So, but I do want to get to a couple geek outs, a few geek outs since the crew over here. But before we do, once again, thank you guys for listening. If you guys have a friend or know someone that would be into listening to the conversation that we're having right now,
Mhm.
please send them a link, share this podcast, and do us a favor, like, rate, share, and subscribe the
Mhm.
podcast so that we can keep doing what we're doing, and reaching as many fans as possible. But for everyone that already has, thank you guys so much. But anyway, moving on. Geek outs. What are y'all geeking out on? Who wants to go first?
Uh, man, since I've basically been geeking out on the same thing that I've been geeking out about for the last couple of weeks, or the same things, I'll go first, and I'll keep it relatively brief. Attack on Titan is freaking amazing, and
Oh, dude.
as I've already told, as I've already told Walt in the chat groups and AJ and Eli, like this is going to be, now that they've seen this show, that this other show that I've been pushing them and badgering them to watch, that show being Breaking Bad. Um, the new show that I'm going to badger them to watch is going to be Attack on Titan, like because you guys have to see it. You have to see it because I want to know your opinion also. But so I mean, Attack on Titan, I've been rewatching it in the Japanese, the original Japanese with the subtitles and the sub, and it's still amazing. And I'm still noticing incredible moments. I'm not going to spoil it because I want the guys to watch it, like I said, but incredible character moments. And the only thing that I will say that I absolutely love is you have your first season, which sets up the characters and is almost cliche. I think I think there's a point to that though, right? Because you have your second season where you're introduced to the world of Attack on Titan, and then you have the fleshing out of these supposedly cliched characters, right? Because none of them are cliche by the end. I think you get to season 3 where you have these characters reacting to a complete change in context, and then you have the fallout so far in season 4, and season 4 has been amazing. It makes the whole show, it makes the entire series better, the first 3 seasons, once you get to season 4. I don't know how far you've gotten, Wolfie,
Oh no,
but
I've only seen the first episode of season 4.
okay.
I've been crashing out of exhaustion.
Yeah,
I don't binge the way that I used to binge. So I if I binge 3 episodes, all of a sudden I'm falling asleep. So
there's 8 episodes currently in
You're getting
Japanese.
you're getting old,
I think
Gabe.
I think
getting old. It's funny. I saw a meme today that was like I'm at the age where like I either suffered an injury or this is just how my body is.
There you go.
I've
So
suffered an
basically,
injury.
that's where I am.
I'm at that part of the age. But yeah,
We all
you
are.
have 8 episodes of the sub in season 4, and 3, I think, of the dub in season 4, which is really cool too. I really enjoy how they like basically come out at the same time. But it's been amazing.
Where are you watching it?
Funimation now.
Okay.
I'm watching on Funimation now. I have
Nice,
a
nice.
subscription to that, and I mean, that's probably why I get like the dub so quickly. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't have TV anymore. I haven't watched TV. I don't have cable
Yeah.
TV in the cable sense, right? I haven't had it in a very long time. But yes, it has been absolutely amazing for season 4. Binge as far as you can those next 7 episodes. Are you watching the sub or the dub right now?
Well, watching the
Or
sub
both?
of season 4
Right.
because I have
Okay.
watching it on Hulu.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Get through it as quickly as you can.
Yeah,
And you
so
guys got to start watching it.
I'm dying to.
Oh my god, it's so good. So good. Anyways, yeah, like since I don't want to spoil it, I just want to keep basically saying it's amazing and everybody should watch it, and it's one of my favorite shows possibly of all time. I want to
It's
see them
really
stick the
interesting.
landing. We'll see.
It's really interesting because on IMDb, if I'm not mistaken, they have like 7 or like I guess they have like 6 or 7 of these 8 episodes
Mhm.
are higher rated. Like it's like one season has 7 episodes that are rated 9.8 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
where they have basically Attack on Titan has more episodes rated 9.7 and higher than the final season of Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad together. I think
Mm-hmm.
I saw.
Probably. It's
You
that
know,
good
so
of a show.
yeah,
It's
so
that good. It really is. And if you really really enjoy the sub, check it out there. But the dub is, as I mentioned last week, also absolutely amazing. The voice actors are incredible in both the sub and the
nice.
dub,
Yeah,
and the translation is fantastic also
we're
in the
both
dub.
kind of geeking out over that.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that I'm geeking out about real quick, like I said, is something else that I geeked out about recently. Is I've been playing further into Death Stranding, and it's a lot of fun so far. I'm in chapter 3. I don't know where you were, Gabe, in Death Stranding, but I'm in chapter 3.
Oh, I'm right where you are.
Okay. Okay. You're right where I am basically. So you've gotten some of the cool new upgrades that you get and the cool new structures that you can build. I'm
Yeah,
really enjoying the game. I'll just break it down for Walt and for AJ really quickly. Like what I really enjoy about the game is like even though everybody kind of derogatorily compared it to a walking simulator, to me it's more of a hiking simulator.
yeah,
Um,
hiking, climbing.
right, and climbing, which is what I like about it because you really have to work on the way that they systematized, like how you have to keep your balance in the game is fun and keeps you on your toes, but not too difficult, right? The way that you like have to look for the right terrain to climb, the right path to go on. The online component is really great because there's no actual multiplayer. It's more you share structures. So if you put a ladder somewhere in the terrain, somebody else can play who's playing online can use that ladder. If you put
Yeah,
a rope somewhere, a bridge, you can leave structures for other players to use in their single player campaign, which I think is awesome. I love it because like I said, I think it feels like a hiking community or a climbing community. So I just enjoy the gameplay immensely. The story is okay. It's a little too convoluted, even though I love Hideo Kojima.
very convoluted.
It's like yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it just seems to me like he went a little too overboard with it. But I still enjoy it. I'm not saying it's a bad storyline. The acting is really interesting. Of the capture with Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen, and all the cameos are really cool. There's a lot of horror directors, mangaka, and like all kinds of other really really interesting people that are probably Hideo Kojima's friends. For instance, like Junji Ito's in this freaking game. His likeness is in the game at one point. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Wolfie, but he's one of the basically the guys that you meet at one of the stations that you drop off packages at. He's one of
I
the
may
guys
have.
that's there.
I don't actually know what Junji Ito looks like, so I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to like look him up and see
I,
if
th-
I've met him already.
I think he
I'm
is.
gonna Google it right now.
He's the engineer. That's the name of his stop, and his name is the engineer. I think in the game,
Oh, I think yeah, it
and that's
definitely has
Junji
it.
Ito.
Yeah.
You
Oh my
have
god,
Guillermo
yeah,
del
I
Toro,
totally saw him.
all those other people. Yeah, that's Junji Ito, dude. Like, and there's a lot of cameos like that. Apparently, well,
Oh
I'm not
man,
going to spoil it. There's other people
that's
that
very
are in the
cool.
game,
I'm gonna have
including some
to. Yeah,
American
that's pretty
celebrities.
cool. Yeah.
But Death Stranding is really fun, and it's a game that you have to enjoy the gameplay. If you don't enjoy the gameplay, you're done because the gameplay is
Yeah.
very simple. It's very basic. You get some upgrades, and that's it. But like, I actually enjoy the pathfinding and the hiking and all the climbing and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that's my repeat geek out my repeat geek outs. Basically, I've been playing the heck out of Death Stranding, and I've been watching the heck out of Attack on Titan.
I've been geeking out more or less. Like I said, I've been geeking out over Attack on Titan. Trying to catch up because so many people are hitting me up about season 4. But that's not going to be my geek out this week. My geek out this week is a new podcast that I've subscribed to, and I don't know if you guys have caught wind of it, but our friend of the podcast, John R. Diaz,
I have.
Mhm.
senior tech designer at EA Games, Electronic Arts. He finally debuted his podcast that he's been wanting to for years, and I think
So 2
that
episodes or 3
uh
episodes have been released.
3
So no, I'm
episodes.
sorry, 2 episodes.
No,
2
Two
two
episodes.
episodes.
episodes. Two
Yeah.
episodes.
So the podcast is basically chronicling the life and the experience of a game designer coming up, and all the people that, well, basically John's life as a game designer coming up, and I feel like the well, not that I feel like, but I believe that the whole inspiration behind this came from like our interview that he did here on Get Geek, where we kind of chronicled his way up, and he realized how much fun it was to actually do a podcast. Not that it was the first podcast that he's done, but we got a chance to talk a little bit about what we do from a production standpoint, the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave him the confidence to finally put something out there. And he started the podcast name is Out of Play Area, and here's the quick synopsis of the podcast. A video game development podcast by video game developers for video game developers, both veteran and aspiring, where we discuss our art and motivations out of the lines, out of the play area. We interview the people behind the games, including game designers, animators, artists, producers, engineers, testers, directors, writers, and everything in between for your information and your entertainment, including new episodes. And these are new episodes dropping every other Monday, and it started this month, February 1st. The first episode is with Doug Burton, actually a friend of mine. I also, when I lived in Austin, I got a chance to network and hang out and, befriend a lot of the same people that are going to be showing up on this podcast. Doug is Dougie Fresh is one of the coolest cats I've ever met. Super cool dude. But yeah, in this one, the synopsis for this first episode, and what's interesting, actually, he has 2 versions of the episodes. He has episode 1 and episode 1A. One has music in the background, and the other one has as an a cappella version of the episode. And one is family friendly, and the other one's explicit. So, kind of cool how he's doing this in order to reach as wide of an audience as possible. In this one, he sits down with his Full Sail University alumni and dear friend, Detroit's own Douglas Burton, currently working as a senior tech designer for Polyarc in Seattle, Washington. Polyarc that's also owned and operated by another good friend of us, Danny Bulla. Doug has worn various hats in game development, writing the full spectrum between game design and coding to refine his specialty in puzzle design. He got to work with Doug at Midway Austin on their first shipped game, Black Site Area 51, where he's gone to work for various studios throughout the U.S. and in the U.K. So the episode is super cool. It's they have great banter, and it's awesome to kind of hear, for me, like kind of you know kind of relive a little bit of like how they kind of came to be, even though I know them personally.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of fun to listen to the to that episode, and I'm looking forward to more stuff from John, and hopefully looking forward to having him back on the show here, and maybe get some of these other guys here. And anyone out there that is an aspiring, coder, computer engineer, artist, writer, or anything, this is the perfect show for you guys to get on board, because I can tell you right now from knowing John and knowing a lot of the people that he's going to be interviewing, that they're going to be super forthcoming with how the industry actually works and what you need to do to get there if you want to be there. So highly recommend it. But that's what I've been geeking out over.
Nice. Yeah, John was a great guest, and our fans, if you haven't checked out that podcast with John R. Diaz, please check it out because he has some great insight. I can see his podcast being fantastic, and I have to check it out as well because, yeah, John is pretty awesome.
And we have two more that are going to be geeking out.
Right now,
Yeah.
AJ is pointing at me, so I guess I'm going next.
That's right.
Yeah, pointing very, very, very agitatedly. You go, you go. All right. Anyway, it's been very, very hectic, my schedule lately. So there's not a lot that I've been geeking out over, but there's one thing that we've been watching consistently during dinner. Oddly enough, right?
Yep, and that's Dead Space.
A cooking show?
No, not Dead Space. Yeah, a cooking show, definitely. If you consider cooking meth, we finally finished Breaking Bad. So this
Nice.
is one of the shows that I can confidently say that I'm very pleased in the fact that there was not one single episode that you can consider as filler. And that is something
No.
that you rarely find in a TV show. Everything was moving, you know, toward one single storytelling goal, and that was um, the the Breaking Bad of Walter White.
Spoilers if you haven't seen it, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the whole thing, but like I
I
said, it
haven't
was
seen it, so
just
I'm just going to put
yeah,
my
yeah.
headphones down.
No. I'm not gonna speak on any
Oh,
of the
okay.
points. I'm not gonna speak. Like I said, very general. The whole thing is about the Breaking Bad of Walter White. And it's funny enough because this was a show that I actually um, had told Jose that he had to watch, and I
Hmm.
watched the
I
first
did.
episode, and I never went back to it. you know, so and really truly, it was more of the fact that my time is very limited and stuff like that. So I have to kind of pick and choose the stuff that we watch, and usually we watch shows as a family here. So, Breaking Bad at the time was probably not the best thing to watch with the kids. But, the kids are a little bit older, they're wiser. There are things that, we discuss after certain episodes and things of that nature. So I'm confident that they can handle more mature things. And that's why we chose to start watching Breaking Bad. And not only that, we watched the movie that comes after Breaking Bad, which is El Camino, which is it's funny enough, El Camino felt like an extended version of a Breaking Bad episode, really,
Yeah.
and that was one of the most striking things that I found about that particular movie. But again, you can't find fault with that because hey, if you love 40 minutes of an episode and you just extend it by like another 30 minutes, what bad is there? And so I didn't find anything wrong with any of these things. Breaking Bad is definitely something that I would recommend wholeheartedly again to anybody now that I've actually watched the show.
Yes.
you know, now
I've seen it
you're,
multiple times.
yeah, Jose, you are recommending Attack on Titan on the crew.
Hmm.
I'm recommending another show that I think I've mentioned before, and I'm going to continue to keep recommending until you guys watch, and that's the Cinemax Warrior, which is now on HBO
On
Max.
HBO Max.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not the one I was thinking of.
Well, which one?
The Expanse.
Oh well, The Expanse. That's the
I'm
next
watching
show
that.
that
I'm the one that needs to watch The Expanse.
I'm watching that. Don't
It's
worry
we
about
it's
it.
actually.
so
I
much
actually
like
stopped watching The Expanse because now we're rewatching it with the family. So we're 4 episodes into season 1.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So they're
All right, so I'm
getting
gonna have to
into it.
catch up.
Yeah, but I'm gonna continue to keep harping on you guys until you watch Warrior. You know, that's something that I think if you guys, it's the best show that you're not watching right now. It really is. You know, and like I said, you get iterations of future stars because one of the actors on the show is going to be on in the Mortal Kombat movie playing Scorpion, and the other one is going to be, I believe, Storm Shadow in the GI Joe movie coming up, right? So,
Mm.
but like I said, Breaking Bad was awesome. El Camino was great. We're watching The Expanse. Go watch Warrior, please. And that's it
I'm
for me.
watching Banshee. So I'm on
Oh,
season
how
two.
where
far?
are you with
How
that?
far have you gotten with Banshee?
I'm on season 2 so far. I haven't gotten super far into season 2 yet, but
Okay.
because Attack on Titan is taking over everything. I'm sorry.
Warrior.
I'm sorry.
Warrior.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
but
Anyway,
anyways,
I'm done.
Mhm.
Next.
AJ.
And last but not least,
Pointing at you, son.
Definitely not.
Pointing at you.
Oh, he sunned them
That's right.
Yeah.
because he
So
is his son.
Yeah, I was gonna say he can't.
Yes, son. Like actual son. Let's go, son.
yeah, if you know the quote, you know what I'm watching. Is all I'm gonna say. First of all, I didn't get it right in the check, but I have it pulled up now.
Oh gosh.
And funny enough, we talked about the actor earlier too. So
Mhm.
props there. So this is the quote. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. And that's it.
What could that be?
It's not
Well, this is
watching.
actually the second of the technical string I watched, but yeah, it's part of it.
That was the name of a
Mhm.
Breaking Bad episode.
Yes,
Yes,
it was.
that was one of
Yes,
my
it
favorite
was.
episodes too. That's actually the episode that made me revisit this again.
Yeah, it's such a good episode, but I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yes, so I was rewatching the Alien prequels the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, I was watching Prometheus and the quote that it came from, Alien Covenant. And
Fassbender.
yep,
Magneto.
I I remember loving it before, but I just it was really enjoyable. You know, I really like the. A lot of people, I don't know, from what I've heard, the reviews were kind of mixed on Alien Covenant because it was weird and whatnot. But I was like, what are you talking about? If you follow it, you follow it.
Dude, wait till you get the Disney version of it. That'll be awesome.
I guess Fox, right?
Yeah?
Fox or Disney-fied alien movies.
Disney-fied alien movies. Woohoo!
Well, they have that new company, but in the UK only, right? Star, where they have their R-rated
Yes.
properties.
Well, it should come to Hulu because I think Hulu is the R-rated property for Disney, right?
True.
They better not ruin
A xenomorph with Mickey Mouse ears. Go.
I think I've seen that before. The internet has produced that somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it. If
I'm
you're
pretty
gonna
sure.
follow the aesthetic of the prequels, you just need to, because I like the whole classical feel it has to it. And you know, the first four movies were, one was, yeah, that's the original, so you have to give credit there. Two, my favorite. Three, wishy washy, and four I actually like better than three. But that was still a little.
This makes me want to revisit the whole thing. I haven't seen it in such a long time.
It's been a long
right?
time for me.
Yeah, but basically, just the only thing I really have to say about this is, if you liked it, watch it. If not for the Alien franchise, then for Michael Fassbender being awesome, because he was like the best thing about those two movies, in my
He's the best
opinion.
thing
Aside from the expansion on the lore of Alien. But yeah, that's what I would say.
He's great in anything that he's done. I have not been
Never even-
disappointed by him. Not even in Dark Phoenix.
Remember his bit part in 300?
Yeah,
He was in
yeah, that was the
300?
first time that I saw him. And you know, it's funny. I
He has
didn't
one of the best
Fassbender?
lines in the
Yeah.
movie. He has one of the best lines in the movie.
Mhm.
Remember the fight in the shade
Yep.
line? If they block out the sun, then we will fight in the shade. Yeah,
Yeah, he was
Fassbender
there.
is awesome.
Skinny as
Come to
hell.
the MCU, please. Come to the MCU.
I feel like he's definitely. I feel like he's going back to that whole thing. I feel like he is the Luke Skywalker cameo.
Let's hope.
Anyways,
But I kind of disagree on that, though. And here's why.
well,
Follow my thought
all right.
process here.
Okay.
So, Luke Skywalker is a hero. Magneto is arguably not. He would be more of a Darth Vader.
No, that depends. That depends.
Yeah, he's an
Ah.
anti-hero. He's
an
kind of
in this timeline. Magneto isn't a villain.
Okay, but follow me. Darth Vader. who is the opposite of Darth Vader, and hence Luke Skywalker?
Right. See, but I don't
Professor
look at it that way.
X.
I look at it almost as like, Luke Skywalker being like almost like, I guess, a father figure to the Mandalorian universe, like, like that.
And
Yeah,
who
just
better
I think
to
it's
be
just
a father
a
figure to the mutants than Professor
No,
X
no, no, to
himself?
Wanda, because that's Wanda's father.
Oh, okay, well, all right, you have me there.
That's why. That's why it's so big, because it's Wanda's father.
AJ's trying to change parentage here.
It's changing
No,
It
reality.
is. It's
no,
Wanda's.
He's
It's
changing
Wanda's
reality.
I was talking
That's-
about a metaphorical father, not like a literal.
Your father?
Anyway, all right, guys. I think that that's a good place to kind of wrap it up. Unless anybody
Wrap
wants
it
to make
up,
any
B.
extra points, any final points.
No, I'm good, man. I mean, there's going to be so much more to talk about over the next few
Yeah,
weeks
there
as
is.
this mystery unravels.
So, all right. Well, then, thank you guys so much. It was cool to kind of get back on the podcast with the majority of the crew. I still miss Eli. I feel like I haven't spoken to Eli in ages.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we can get him back on soon.
He's
He'll
working.
Aged up. He'll
He's
have aged
working,
up by the time he's on next.
He's
He's
working on his.
prioritizing. He's prioritizing.
He's working on his art portfolio right now. So
Nice. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for following, thank you for sharing and liking. And until next time, stay geeky, my friends. Man, that feels so weird. Can you say it, Jose? I don't know. You're the one that says it. It feels so weird.
Okay. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Stay geeky, my friends. Good night, everybody.